Yeah, one of the very interesting patterns that I noticed, which McKinsey was able to provide data to substantiate, was that companies enter India and they enter like everybody else, cautiously trying to feel their way. And they enter with the same global products, same global prices, blah, blah, blah. But the first few years they tend to do well because, one, they're starting off a very small base, zero to start with. And so any growth looks good. Second, they're serving the top of the pyramid, and the top of the pyramid in India or Africa looks the same as the top of a pyramid in most places. People like you and I, global orientations, so forth. So they do well for first 4 or 5 years, but then growth slows. That top of the pyramid gets saturated. It's also where all the other competitors also aiming. And after that time, it becomes harder and harder to grow faster than the industry. If the industry is growing 8%, you'll grow 8%, maybe 9%. And at that point, what happens in all companies is frustration and disappointment set in. They said, India is just a tough, tough place. And, we bought that India shining story, but, now we know the truth. And companies do one of two things. Some of them decide India's too damn hard, let's go to Indonesia, let's go to Turkey, let's go to Africa where things are better. We'll come back when things pick up again. We'll come back when India resembles what we are familiar with. So Tim Cook of Apple, for instance, last year he said, the distribution system in India is very inefficient. So yeah, we think India is important, but we'll be back when the distribution system looks good and modern retail takes off. Well, that might be a long time. And meanwhile, what happens is some competitor like Samsung doesn't wait for the distribution system. They build their own distribution system and they capture all the market. So this idea that I'll come back when things are better is a fatally flawed one. Other companies may not do that, but they say, the real problem is our management team in India. They're simply not executing the global playbook, if you will. And so we need to change leadership, and they'll send an expat. And, well, the expat will show up, but the results are no different because the issues are deep and structural. And 2 years later, the wife is unhappy, and the kids need to go to a better school, and so the expat wants to go home. And you get into this revolving door of expats, and companies then enter a state of drift. In the meanwhile, some competitor runs off with the whole market. Now, this is the midway trap, okay? Now, this is not a death sentence. It is possible to hit the midway trap. Almost all companies do, but get out of it. And a good example is GE. GE did not grow at all during the boom decade of 2000 to 2010 in India. And Jeff Immelt finally said, listen, this is too important, and he blew up the whole model. And he did a lot of what I advocate in the book. Send a very senior, trusted person to run the business, empower them, make substantial investments with a long-term horizon, cultivate resilience. And GE is back growing 50% a year, which is huge. So that is the basic idea of the midway trap.